Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and we are doing yet another tier list. We are going to knock off yet another tribe. We've already done dragons, we've done beasts, and we're going to take a look at a much smaller tribe in Hearthstone. There's only like 40 or so Murlocs in Hearthstone history, but that's right, we're taking a look at Murlocs. Everyone's favorite little blue fishmen, whatever you call it. I'm not super keen on Warcraft lore, but I do know that they are quite fishy and quite noisy. So let's go through it. We're going to rate them S through F. The S tier being the best Murlocs ever that have been in like a ton of decks. Really good, insanely good Murlocs. And then F tier are just garbage Murlocs you never ever ran. And you wonder why they ever even made them. So let's get going. First, we have the cutest Murloc of all time, Merlok Tidehunter. I had a lot of people say, you gotta put Merlok Tidehunter S tier. He's so cute, but we are very, very objective around here. We're objective, and we do not do that stuff. So we're gonna give it an A. Because it's super cute. And, you know, it's not quite S tier because it wasn't really ever run in many decks. But, so in Wild, in particular, where you have Underbelly Angler, you could actually play this card in that deck because it's a 0-mana Murloc, and you would play it and you get more Murlocs in your hand. So this deck actually has seen competitive play in Wild in a top tier deck, relatively top tier. So it's an A. Merlok Tidehunter the cutie, he gets to be an A. I won't give it an S. I'm objective, okay? I gotta keep it real. The next Murloc we have is Sea Devil Stinger. It's a 4-mana, 4/2 Murloc. Battle Cry. The next Murloc you play costs health this turn instead of mana. So you could play this guy and then any other Murloc in the game. There wasn't really much to do with Murlocs in Warlock. I think I remember at one point like a zoo deck that did like the Fincher package, and it might have run this card. I really don't ever remember seeing competitive play. I'll give it a C because it's not bad. It's not great. There was just never a lot of Murloc synergy in Warlock. Correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but I believe it's a C. Then we have Ghost Sight Angler for Shaman. It's a 2-mana, 2/2 Murloc that has Echo. So you can play it, in theory, 5 times a turn. Or if you can, like, discount it, you can play it a bunch more. Murloc Shaman's been really good in both Standard and Wild over the years. This card barely ever saw play in those decks. You just had better options. Like, the board fill, you didn't really need it from it. This is a card you would randomly discover, and sometimes it would be okay. So, I'll give it a C. It's kind of in that Stinger category of just being like, you know, it's not bad, but it never really saw that much play. Then we have Blue Gill Warrior, the 2-mana, 2/1 charging Murloc. This guy has seen play in a ton of Murloc decks, whether it be anything Paladin, just your basic Murloc deck where you want to get a charger on board. And it's even been played in like Quest Rogue or like Hand Buff Rogue when you had Anubisath you could cheat out and stuff like that and then buff up Bluegill. We're going to give Bluegill an S. He's an S tier Murloc. He's been in just so many different decks. He's been a good pick in Arena as well. And when you've been in that many competitive decks and you just can go face, there's just not many charge options left in Standard. You kind of got to give him a little bit of respect to the Bluegill Warrior. Then we have Rockpool Hunter. He's a 2-mana, 2/3 neutral Murloc. Battlecry, give a friendly Murloc +1/+1. This guy is insane. Absolutely insane. One of the most powerful Murlocs ever made. Once it became Standard, Murloc decks were basically good until it rotated out. Because you have Tidecaller on one into Rockpool, or just coin Rockpool into Rockpool. It's a 2-mana, 2/3 with premium stats and upside, and it has synergy with all the other Murlocs. Insanely powerful card, and definitely worthy of the S tier mark. Bluegill, maybe not, but definitely Rockpool. And then we have Tasty Tidehunter? Tasty Fanfin. It's a 2-mana, 2/2 Murloc. Death Rattle. Give a dragon your hand +2/+2. I've literally never seen this card played. Ever. On ladder. Ever. Maybe you take it in Arena if your options are terrible, but this is an F for me. I've literally never seen it play. I guess the assumption is you try a Menagerie build, but Menagerie decks have like literally never worked out, and neither did he. We have Scargill, the the legendary for Shaman. It's a 4-mana, 4/4 Murloc. Your Murlocs cost 1, so you can play Scargill and then just flood the board with a bunch of Murlocs. Even Murloc Shaman didn't really run this card a heck of a lot. It's just, you didn't really need the discount, right? Most of your Murlocs are cheap. And it can do some good stuff with especially Underbelly Angler, but overall, actually kind of the middle of the road. I thought this card would be a lot better when it came out, but it's not bad. It's just kind of not that great. Just didn't see a ton of play. And there's just better options for the most part. Next, we have Fincher, one of my favorite cards of all time. I love this guy. He's awesome. It's a 5-mana 2/4 Murloc with stealth, and whenever he attacks and kills a minion, summons 2 random Murlocs from your deck. Who's really good in like anything Paladin. You cheat out some of your combo pieces with like Merlok War Leader or Blue Gill or Older Murkai, or you just play them in a tempo deck like water. There's like Water Rogue and there's all these water decks. They called it water because you played Fincher and you cheated out stuff and you like pirates and all sorts of crazy stuff going on. This card is insanely good. He's kind of fallen off in recent years in Wild, but honestly, he's such a rad. I love this card. Like, I like that he can be played in aggro, combo, mid-range, so many different styles of decks. Just really cool. The flavor is awesome. Everything about him, I love him. S tier for me. Love me some Finja. Then we have Sludge Slurper, the 1-mana 2/1 Murloc for Shaman. Battle Cry, it adds a lackey to your hand in Overload 1. He's nerfed to a 1/1 at one point, but now is a 1-mana 2/1. Very good Murloc for Shaman. Was a staple in Quest Shaman, Galakron Shaman, Evolve Shaman. Insanely good. Just really good. If Shaman was any good right now, it would probably be in every Shaman deck. It's just 1-mana 2/1, get a lackey, has Murloc synergies. There's really barely a downside to it. Insanely good card. Just Shaman kind of stinks right now. But, you know, it'll come back. Don't worry, the next set, or one of the next 2 sets, they'll give Shaman some love again, and he'll show up. Then we have Murloc Tasty Fin, 4-mana 3/2 Murloc Death Rattle. Draw 2 Murlocs from your deck. Saw some play, particularly in Standard, in Murloc Shaman. In Wild, popped up in some like Mill Rogue variants. You could tutor out your Coldlight Oracles. And for that, I'll give it an A. It's like a low A, but it's an A. It saw a decent amount of play. It draws Murlocs, and you know, that's good. And it synergizes again. Any card that has a Murloc tag on it already has that bonus because it synergizes with so many other cards. And even in the decks where it didn't, like Mill Rogue, you still ran it because it tutored, because it's just good to draw 2 for 4 mana and have a body. So really solid card. Again, doesn't see a heck of a lot of play these days, but that doesn't mean it's not a good card. Then we have Puddle Stopper. I think this is like a GVG Murloc. It's a 2-mana 3/2 Murloc. No text, nothing really special. Middle of the road. We'll give it a C. Sometimes saw play if you wanted to play it on curve, but overall, there's just Murlocs that do stuff. Doesn't do anything. But premium stats with the Murloc tribe, I can't quite give it an F. Then we have McGurgle, the 2-mana 2/1 Prime Legendary for Paladin. When it dies, it shuffles the Murloc Prime, which then summons, I believe, 4 random Murlocs and gives them Divine Shield. Very powerful in Paladin. Paladin kind of sucks, but it's a staple in most Paladin decks. And in Wild, it sees play on like pure Libram Paladin and all of that. And that deck is not that far off from being good. I see it at relatively high legend quite a bit. Is he S tier? I didn't give Zigzor an S tier for Hunter, but I feel like McGurgle, whatever you want to call it, I feel like he's there. I feel like he's that good a Murloc. He's super strong and definitely worthy of that S tier mark. Now that I think about it, I'm going to dock Bluegill down. I'm docking him down below Tiny Fin. It's just not at the level of these guys. It just isn't. So, I get to make the rules. It's my tier list. Come at me. I'm putting Bluegill down to an A. Then we have Murloc Tidecaller, 1-mana 1/2 Murloc. Every time a Murloc is summoned, gain +1 attack. Staple in like every Murloc aggro deck ever, because it's just infinitely scaling. Curves insanely well with Rockpool Hunter and all of that. Definitely an S tier Murloc. It's just too good. It's if you don't kill it and it gets out of control, you're dead like right away. It's an auto kill, have to kill Murloc that just carries a ton of aggressive decks. Then we have Merlok War Leader, 3-mana 3/3 Murloc. Give your other Murlocs +2 attack. Again, staple in every aggro Murloc deck ever, in a lot of like anything Paladin, the combo Murloc deck. And mid-range Murloc decks like Water Rogue and all of that. Another S-tier Murloc. Man, Murlocs are pretty good. I wonder why they've seen play for so long. Very solid. I'll put him ahead of Tidecaller just because his effect is pretty nuts. But, yeah, super good Murloc. You want to put him in your Murloc decks if you want to smork. We have Underbelly Angler, the 2-mana 2/3 Shaman rare. Every time you play a Murloc, add a random Murloc to your hand. Infinite value on a 2-drop. This could outvalue control decks on its own. It can get itself. It's in every Shaman Murloc deck until probably the end of time because it's absolutely insane. And when you randomly get it, for like in another class, say with like the Paladin weapon, you're really freaking happy. The card's nuts. Absolutely crazy. One of the best Murlocs ever. I'm actually putting it above everything. I think it's even better than Rockpool Hunter. It's just crazy. Again, Shaman's not fantastic right now, but this card is the nuts. And then we have Fish Flinger, 2-mana 3/2 Murloc that adds a random Murloc to each player's hand. So you get a random Murloc, your opponent gets a random Murloc, and, you know, it's value for you. Typically, your opponent can't really use Murlocs very well. They suck, unless their deck's built around it. So it's a solid card. It's kind of in this range. It's a put away. Like, I saw a lot in, like, Murloc Paladin. Even, yeah, Murloc Shaman runs it. It's just good. Premium stats. You usually screw with your opponent's hand. You can even mill your opponent with it. So, pretty good. We have Toxfin. 1-mana, 1/2 Murloc. Give a friendly Murloc poisonous. Very strong. I mean, you put it on anything. You can kill any giant minion. You can have Deathwing on the board versus a 1/1 little Murloc. And, hey, I gave it poisonous. It's dead. Very strong. I'm going to give it a high A. Not quite S tier. Borderline, for sure. But just doesn't really have the power spike on its own. Like, you can't really play it on one and win the game, like Tidecaller, a lot of these cards. So, really good. Very strong. Makes a lot of the aggro Murloc decks insane. Very good card. We have Merlok Tidehunter. Really good BG card. You play it on one. You get a token. Really good. Not bad on ladder. Not great. Not bad. You're kind of playing it in, like, certain Flood Murloc decks. It's strictly an aggro card. Strictly an aggro card. And it doesn't make the cut in every aggro deck, but it's not too bad. So, we'll give it a B if it's into certain aggro Murloc decks, but that's about it. Certainly a decent card, though. We have Skyfin. This guy's a 5-mana 3/3 Murloc, and if you're holding a dragon, you summon 2 random Murlocs. I've never seen this guy played by itself on ladder, I believe, ever, unless it was randomly created, and a lot of the time, it's just a 5-mana 3/3. Don't get me wrong, the effect's pretty good. It's just you don't really want to be running dragons, and the only Murloc you can really make this work if you're, you know, if you get a Nightmare Amalgam, I guess it works, but overall, just not very good. Never really seen much play. Not quite an F, though. I won't give it that, because if you do make it work, it's pretty solid. And then we have Fellfin Navigator, a 4-mana 4/4 Murloc, another BG staple these days. Battlecry, give all your other Murlocs +1/+1. It's really good. It's a pretty new card, but yeah, you give your Murlocs +1/+1. This is almost premium stats, 1 health less than the Yeti. Just very, very solid. Haven't seen it be like a meta-warping, meta-defining Murloc or anything like that, but it's solid. I'll put him in the Toxfin range, just a little bit below. But yeah, very good Murloc. Just, again, nothing like that exciting about it. Then we have Corrupted Seer, 6-mana 2/3 Murloc, so the stats suck, but the effect is deal 2 damage to all minions that basically aren't Murlocs. So this guy was really good in Arena. It was like a neutral AoE. Never really saw play on ladder. Maybe Fringe, like a one-of in some jank deck, but just too slow. Most decks that want AoE typically have better options. It's just, yeah, not worth really running. And a lot of Murloc decks want to cheat stuff out, and you don't want to cheat out this piece of crap. So I'll give it a C. It's not like it was terrible. It just wasn't really ever good enough to make the cut. We have Grins Oracle, 1-mana 1/1 Murloc. Give your other Murlocs +1 attack. Staple in aggro decks. Not running every one of them. A lot of times it just doesn't really make the cut because it's a 1-mana 1/1. It's fragile. Can't give you that little extra reach. I mean, you're going to run it like a Prismatic Lens deck where you just fill your deck with Murlocs. So I'll give it to the middle of the road kind of territory. See some play in aggro Murloc decks, but overall, not a lot. We have Bilefin Tidehunter. It's a 2-mana 2/1 Murloc. Summon a 1/1 with Taunt. I believe the 1/1 was not a Murloc. And this Kai saw a little bit play in Quest Rogue back in the day, because he got a 4/4 Taunt for relatively cheap, and saw some play, like Fringe play in Murloc decks. Again, it's basically better than Tidehunter, other than the fact you didn't get 2 Murlocs out of it, but yeah, kind of middle-of-the-road Murloc, saw a bit of play, nothing too crazy. Then we have Sir Finley, Murgleton, Legendary, Leave Explorers, Murloc Legendary 1, mana 1/3 Battlecry Discover, basic hero powers. So this guy's been a staple in like every aggro deck ever. You have that useless tank up armor power, hero power for warrior. Well, I get life tap or steady shot and I kill my opponent or draw cards. This guy is definitely an S tier Murloc, super powerful. CLC's tons of play in Wild. And the more powerful Reno Priest gets in Wild, you can also use this guy with Grizzled Wizard to steal your opponent's hero power. So there's tons of uses for this card. Just super good in a ton of decks. And yeah, S tier all the way. Then we have, was it Dreadscale Knight? 1 mana 1/1 Murloc with lifesteal. Yeah, really bad. Like, probably one of the worst Murlocs ever made. I've never seen it in a deck. I feel horrible taking it in Arena. Like, you have to buff the crap out of this for it ever. You're playing Murlocs. Why do you care about lifesteal? And it's a 1/1. Just, it belongs at F. It's terrible. Then we have Nightmare Amalgam. It's a 3 mana 3/4 all. We keep putting this in. It's gonna be in most of our tribe reviews because, well, it's every tribe, and it fits in with Murloc decks. You can play it, but you know, middle of the road. Fits into some Murloc decks if you really want to play it, but overall most people don't. I'll give it a low B. Then we have Siltfin Spirit Walker, a 4 mana 2/5 Murloc for Shaman. It has Overload 1, and whenever another friendly Murloc dies, draw a card. So it's like Cult Master with a lot more health, but you have to have Murlocs on board, not just any minions. I haven't seen it played in recent times. Maybe when it came out back in GVG days, Merlok Shaman was a thing, but that's before I played for the most part. I started playing right after GVG came out and all that. It's a good Murloc. It just doesn't really feel like it's ever seen play, and it certainly hasn't seen play in recent times. So I'm going to give it a C. Just doesn't really make the cut. It feels okay to get like randomly off of Angler, and then you have like accidental synergy, but I don't think it's a card you really run. Then we have Murloc Knight, the 4 mana 3/4 Murloc for Paladin. Inspire, so that means hero power. Summon a random Murloc, which could be another Tiny Fin, a menace, or Murloc Knight. It was a menace in Arena. On Ladder, it saw a good amount of play, but not as much as you'd think. A little bit too slow, and like Secret Paladin became a thing, and it just wasn't really, you didn't have room for this. But I'll give it a low A. It's a really good card. And back then, when it came out, the Murloc pool is a lot smaller, so getting a high roll like Murloc Knight, or getting the prior card we mentioned in Spirit Walker was actually pretty high, so not a bad card, pretty good, just, I'll give it a low A. I can't really put it lower than that. And then we have Primal Fin Champion, 2 mana 1/2 Paladin Murloc. Death Rattle, return any spells you cast in this minion to your hand. So the idea was you did a bunch of quest stuff. I think the quests came out in Goro at the same time. You'd buff it, and then you'd get those spells back, and then you'd play them again, and then you could complete your terrible quest. And then Brian Kibler's song would play, and you'd go, yes, yes. And then you'd lose the game because the deck was always terrible. This guy never really saw much play really at all. And even in that deck, he wasn't even that good, because it was hard to stick him, and you just do other stuff. Kind of an F tier Murloc. It could do some good stuff, but it's so fragile, so susceptible to so many transform, silence, steal effects. I just can't really give him anything better than an F. Sorry, buddy. You tried. We have Coldlight Oracle, 3 mana 2/2 Murloc, Hall of Famed Murloc at that. Battle Cry. Each player draws 2 cards. Staple in mill decks. Odd Warrior. If you just want to draw cards into your aggro deck, you don't care about your opponent, like burn decks, things like that. Seen play in so many different archetypes. Some that I love, like I love playing mill decks. I like being that degenerate douche. And yeah, really insane card. It's an S tier. It's been in just too many decks. It got Hall of Fame for a reason. Very powerful, especially with cards like Shadow Step. The absurdity you can pull off with it. Really, really solid Murloc. Then we have Mermie, a 1 mana 1/1 Reborn Murloc. It's okay. Really nothing too special about it. But you could put it in your Murloc deck. I'll give it a medium A. It's like these guys. It shows up. It's alright. You know. They can't all be champions. Then we have Blowgill Sniper. It's a 2 mana 2/1 Burlock Battlecry. Deal 1 damage. And that can go face. And all that. Never really seen constructive play. It's an okay arena card, but the effect is too kind of garbage for it. It's like Elven Archer with 1 extra attack. Just not really good enough. but I don't think it was quite an F. It's really close, but I won't quite put it in that range. Then we have one of the newer Murlocs, Imprisoned Sun Gill. It's a 1-mana 2/1 Murloc that goes dormant, and when it summons, it awakens with two other 1/1 Murlocs. This guy is really good. I underrated this card a lot when I reviewed it, but it makes Murloc Paladin, which is high win rate across all tiers, all ranks in ladder, actually decent. But for the most part, I'm going to give him an A for now. He just hasn't seen that explosive play in either Standard or Wild to really give it that S tier value. But I think if Murlocs keep getting good stuff, he'll probably end up there at some point. And then we have Coldlight Seer. 3-mana 2/3 Murloc. Give your other Murlocs +2 attack. Super, super solid. Often would just win the game if you're ahead on board. But if you're behind on board, feels terrible. I'll definitely rate him at the top threshold of A. But only in aggro decks. Like, you're only running this in aggro decks. He doesn't really have that mid-range versatility for the most part, because you want to cheat him out with Fincher, a lot of those decks. And, you know, he's not a combo type card, so really good in aggro decks, good in, like, prismatic Murloc decks, but I'll give him a really high A, just not quite S tier. Really close, very good card. Then we have Hydrologist, a 2-mana 2/2 Murloc, Discover a Secret. This is a Paladin Murloc, and a staple in so many decks, whether it be even Shaman, or even Paladin, Murloc Paladin, even, like, you would run this just to get eye for an eye to screw over mages back in the day when they would play Ice Block, and, well, you get them to 1, you play eye for an eye, randomly, you'd screw them. Really, really powerful Murloc. Has seen a ton of play, still sees play today in Wild. I gotta give him an S. It's just, or she, not sure. Can't tell. It's a Murloc. They have genders, right? Anyways, giving it an S. Super strong Murloc, and still sees tons of play today. Then we have Old Murkite, 4-mana 2/4 Charging Murloc, another Hall of Fame to Murloc. Gains +1 attack for all other Murlocs on the battlefield. That includes enemy Murlocs as well. One of the only, actually the only Murloc that is affected by enemy boards. It used to be a lot more, but those got nerfed. Another S tier Murloc. It is a staple in aggro decks. It's a staple in combo decks. It's a good smorker, and you can resummon it, and it gets absolutely crazy. Like with anything Pally, you play anything, you summon 7 Murlocs. If you summon like 3 of these, your opponent's dead unless they got taunts. So crazy, crazy good card in just a bunch of different decks, and I love the flavor. It's pretty sick. Then we have Burlock, 2-mana 2/2 Murloc for Shaman. It freezes an enemy, so this can be a minion or your opponent, so it can freeze face. Sees a good amount of play in, like, Shudderwalk Shaman in Wild. I think it sneaks in just because, probably in Murloc Shaman, because you can freeze up Demon Hunters, which are, you know, you'll love to do that. So I'll give it a high B. I haven't seen a ton of play in, like, the aggro decks, but I think in due time he'll move his way up to an A and be a really solid Murloc. Then we have Murloc Raider. It's a 1-mana 2/1 Murloc. I actually lost to this on ladder today because my opponent played it and then he played Prismatic Lens. The card itself is just mediocre, nothing special, but maybe if you're short on Murlocs, you put them in your Prismatic Lens deck and you embarrass me on stream. Yeah, that happened. Anyways, and then now we have the other Finley, Sir Finley of the Sands. It's a 2-mana 2/3 Highlander Murloc for Paladin. If your deck has no duplicates, you discover an upgraded hero power. People just run this in, like, the Prismatic Paladin because it's a 2-mana 2/3 Murloc. You can just play it, and then, yeah, in the late game, sure, might get an extra upgraded hero power. And, yeah, in Highlander Paladin, it's really good. I'll give it an A because Highlander Paladin's never been super top tier, and as just a throwaway 2/3 in your Murloc deck, it's not really that exciting, but you play it on 2 in a Highlander deck, and you get, like, a really good hero power, whether you're playing the late game with, like, Tank Up, or you get Life Tap, or, hell, the upgraded Demon Hunter hero power, which is insane. Just really solid. And yeah, it's a 2/3 on 2. Can't be that bad. And we have Primal Fin Lookout, neutral Murloc. It's a 3-mana 3/2. If you control another Murloc, discover another one. Decent value card. Sees fringe play here and there in Murloc decks. There's usually a better option. The stat line kind of sucks a lot that you don't really want to run this. So I'll give it a low B because I do see play here and there. But overall, nothing, you know, too exciting. Then we have the Demon Hunter Murloc. Yes, they have a Murloc, and it's actually pretty good. Furious Felfin. It's a 2-mana 3/2 boy who
gains +1 attack and rush if you have attack this turn. So it's often a 3 mana 4/2 with rush. And because Demon Hunter cards are so insane, it doesn't see play. Crazy, right? But it's really good. It's a really good card. It's a 2 mana 4/2 with rush. You just really can't go wrong. I'll give it a high B because it is really good, but it just doesn't see play. So I can't really justify it as an A, even though power level wise, it's nuts. Like a rogue would probably even run this. You can just dagger and attack with it. Really good. Just, yeah. Again, doesn't make the cut in the Demon Hunter package because, well, their cards are crazy. They're crazy. Okay. 2 more Murlocs to go. We got 2 more Murlocs for Paladin, actually. Don't know why you put quotations. We have Grim Scale Chum. It's a 1 mana 2/1 Murloc. Battlecry, give a random Murloc in your hand +1/+1. Staple in, like, basically every aggressive Murloc Paladin deck ever. Not really hard carrying it, but very good. I gotta give it a low A. It's kind of it's actually seen more play than the Murloc Knight, but power level wise, it's just kind of underwhelming, but it's just good. And then lastly, we have Vile Fin Inquisitor, 1 mana 1/3 Murloc. Battle Cry, replace your hero power with one that summons 1/1 Murlocs. And this guy is super cute. You play him and it goes woo woo. Super cute, flavorful, and very powerful. You play it on one and then all of a sudden your Silverhand Recruit hero power summons Murlocs that have synergy with the entirety of your deck. Again, a staple in every single aggressive, mid-range Paladin Murloc deck ever. Just doesn't go into like anything. Solid, high A, very powerful, borderline S. And that's every Murloc. As you can see, Murlocs are really good. The majority of them in Hearthstone history are like S, A, and then we have B and C, and barely any fails. So if you're a fan of Murlocs, so is Blizzard. They like to make a lot of good ones, and honestly, I've played my fair share of Murloc decks, not typically the aggro ones, but you can do everything with Murlocs at some point. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you agree or disagree with any of these, let me know in the comments below. It's always a fun debate. And yeah, please like and subscribe. We're getting close to 5,000 subs. We might even be there when this goes live. Probably not, but you never know. So thank you guys for that. Have a great day. Stay salty, my friend.